Dark Souls, the game that redefined gaming, created a new genre and became the most influential game of all time. But to me, it's more than that. In the depths of 2020 lockdown, my mind was sinking into despair, my body on the brink of collapse. It wasn't therapy or meds that pulled me out. It was a brutally difficult video game. Dark Souls didn't just kick my ass, it saved me. Or better, it helps me save myself.
Mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
There are fears a rapidly spreading virus has reached Australia.
This is a rapidly emerging situation.
Humanity teeters on the edge of the world's end. We're crawling, hiding in the despair of our homes.
You must stay at home.
Dodging any hint of human contact. The world is sinking into collective depression, and me? Apparently, I don't have enough misery. In the midst of this mayhem, this intersocial catastrophe, I crave more. More chaos in my miserable life, more pain. So, on a whim, I hit up Amazon's homepage and let a fearless courier, the unsung hero of modern humanity, deliver a game I have actively avoided until now. I know what Dark Souls is. It's a phenomenon that hasn't escaped my gaming radar. But I've never given a shit about it. On the contrary, I've despised difficulty in my games. Long battles with boss monsters? Thanks. I'd rather get a colonoscopy. Gaming for me has always been about relaxation, an escape from daily bullshit, a way to live countless adventures in story-driven games. Until Dawn, Life is Strange, those were my jam. And if I absolutely had to grab a weapon, I'd always pick the lowest difficulty. I was, you might say, a filthy casual. So yeah, I've been aware of Dark Souls the same way I'm aware some people run marathons. Good for them. But something snapped. Maybe the virus didn't just f*** with my social behavior and hygiene obsession. It rewired my brain cells. So here he stood, the hero of my story, handing me Dark Souls Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. I sank into my weeks-old, pre-warmed couch spot and fired up the game. I got through the tutorial, even killed the Taurus demon without cheesing him off the bridge. But by the time I reached the Bell Gargoyles, the game wasn't clicking. It wasn't even the difficulty at this point. The NPC spoke in this weird, cryptic way, not giving me the clear, linear adventure I was used to. And the game felt old, clunky. The graphics, the dark art style, the stereotypical combat, it didn't vibe. When those two gargoyles stomped my ass on that rooftop, it was the final straw. I sold the game. For a week, I couldn't sleep worth a damn. I tossed and turned, tortured by doubts. Am I a
Pussy.
Why couldn't I beat those two f***s? Why didn't I like a game that's a cult classic for so many? Should I have tried harder? The doubts ate me alive. I caved. One evening, under the weight of lockdown darkness, I slunk out like a junkie in the dark, meeting some guy in a dim subway station. Money changed hands, and I was once again a proud owner of Dark Souls for the Switch. I didn't enjoy it for long. The stress of COVID, shitty eating habits, you name it, broke my body. I landed in the hospital. I endured a battery of checkups and dozen vague diagnoses. The result? Something's wrong with you. We don't know what. Go home and observe. So I was sent home to relax and reduce the stress. I took the advice and dove back into the land of Lordran, hoping for better this time. I pushed through familiar locations and, with more luck than skill, finally bested those damned gargoyles. I wandered into Darkroot Garden, playing an exhausting waiting game with the Moonline Butterfly. It nearly put me to sleep. But something else also happened. While the bosses weren't exactly thrilling me with their complexity or fun factor, I started to get it. The mood, the atmosphere, the world. I began to crack the cryptic storytelling, the weird NPCs, some of whom started feeling like real friends.
I have a proposition, if you have a moment.
Like the video and subscribe to the channel.
The journey from Firelink Shrine through crumbling battlements to dark woods, twisting and interconnected, felt like a true adventure. I was intrigued. I struggled through the Capra demon, teetering on the edge of quitting again, but I didn't. What the hell were you thinking, Miyazaki? Before I even hit the depths, something else shifted. Every death, every defeat, every corpse run tormented me. But they also made me stronger. They built persistence. Fresh of the scare of my hospital stay, I decided it was time to take care of my body. Sports were a foreign concept for me. Wars, and avoided one. Growing up in Central Europe, my grandparents were World War II survivors. My grandmother carried her trauma her whole life, and as a kid, I heard plenty of stories from that time. One was about her brother, who, as she put it, died from doing sports. Later, my aunt clarified. You see, during the war, food was scarce and rationed. My grand-uncle ran a lot, pushing his body hard, but couldn't replenish the energy he burned. He got sick and died. But to my young brain, the message was clear. You exercise, you die. So I dreaded physical activity. I avoided PE at school, rarely played soccer with friends, and wouldn't step foot in a gym. Now I was facing a reality where my body was failing me in ways no doctor could fully explain. And that scared the shit out of me. I pushed through the depths, lost as hell, far from my Firelink Shrine home base, with no way to fast travel back. I had to keep moving forward. In the darkest pit of the depths, at the peak of my despair, I ran into those frog-like bastards, the basilisks. I lost the fight and got cursed. To my shock, the curse had real consequences. I revived at the last bonfire, far from where I was, with half my health pool gone. It was brutal. I realized I had a curse in real life too. My avoidance of any activity beyond waddling from the couch to the fridge for a can of soda had cut my health in half, maybe more. It was a curse that left me weak and sick. I had to change something, or I'd go hollow, or, dead. So in the deepest COVID lockdown, I did something unthinkable to me. I got off the couch to torture my body and my mind. I left the game and hit YouTube, typing fitness training. An avalanche of videos flooded my screen. I took a deep breath and picked a 20-minute high-intensity workout, no equipment. I died. Not literally, of course, but my muscles screamed like they did. I didn't last 10 of those 20 minutes before my aching body sent me back to the bonfire, beaten, bested by the mountain of muscle grinning at me from the screen. I slogged through the depths until I met my next nemesis, the gaping dragon. At this point, I was hooked. Not because of the boss designs, movesets or combat system. To be honest, the game's age was showing its teeth. But the atmosphere, world design and sense of a meaningful journey had me. In the darkest corner, a shimmering sign caught my eye. I touched it, and that weird sun-obsessed guy from the battlements, Solaire, spouting gibberish about praising the sun, rushed to my aid. He was one of the few friendly faces in this decaying world. Together, we slayed the beast, and without a word, my silly friend left. Blighttown, the much feared and hated area, wasn't even as bad as I'd expected. I fell to my death from a platform or two, but by then, I'd learned the power of persistence. Death wasn't the end. It was a lesson. My body was adapting to my daily fitness routine too. More importantly, my mind was learning to overcome the feeling of not being strong enough, of wanting to give up. I didn't. I could now push through the full 20-minute workout, only spitting my soul out at the end. My movements were still a far cry from the cheeky swagger of my 10th YouTube role model, but I was getting somewhere. My lifelong companions, the fat rolls around my core, were shrinking. I felt stronger, lighter, even though I was eating more. But I ate differently. No more nightly pizza and nachos. Just whole grain bread, vegetables, and I didn't hate it. The constant falling to my death and toxin-shooting dwarves were annoying. But I didn't really get why the area got so much hate. Sure, it was grim compared to the sunny battlements or the fairy tale Darkroot Garden. but it didn't feel more vicious than anywhere else. Later, I learned the hate stemmed from the original version's unoptimized, stuttering mess, a problem I didn't face in the remastered edition. At the bottom, I entered the spider's nest and faced my video game crush, Quaylark. And crush me she did. I faced her alone, I faced her with my summoned buddy Mildred, then alone again. Every time she showed me who was in charge here. But something had changed. Unlike the gargoyles, where I gave up after a few tries, I stuck with Quaylark. Quitting didn't cross my mind. Instead, I searched for a solution. Judge me if you want. I'd been grinding my character to death, but never noticed the gentle blacksmith I'd passed countless times also offered to upgrade my weapons. I felt like an idiot, but also a bit proud. I'd made this brutal game even harder for myself and didn't break. I was getting tougher, mentally, not just as a gamer. In the end, I found a sweet spot behind Quaylark's rear legs and spanked her until death. After ringing the second bell of awakening, deep in Blighttown, I unlocked the massive gate that had taunted me for hours. I stepped into what remains the meanest, most evil place in Lordran to me, with the catacombs a close second, Sen's Fortress. I tried killing everything, got wrecked. I tried running past enemies, got crushed by traps only a sadistic mind could dream up. Blades, giant boulders, lightning, spikes, mimic chests, more blades. It went on forever, with no bonfire in sight. I lost count on how many times I started again from the checkpoint. That place nearly broke my newfound resolve. I needed a break. I was thrilled with my progress. Fitter, stronger, more focused than ever. I could breeze through the 20-minute workout and had moved on to longer, tougher routines. But the lockdown grind was wearing me down. Work alone at my desk, kill my body in front of a grinning TV face, alone. Rinse and repeat. I knew Sen's Fortress inside out by now. The two lizard guys at the entrance, I could bury them in my sleep. But one mistake meant starting over. In one of these miserable runs, I came out victorious. The Iron Golem boss at the end was a pushover compared to the journey there. And so I entered Anor Londo, one of the most monumental, poetic levels in any video game. After the hell of Sen's Fortress, Anor Londo felt peaceful. The lighting, the stillness, it was calming. The enemies hit like trucks, harder than anything before, but they were apathetic, barely noticing me unless I provoked them. The city's intricate architecture, clever staircase system, and towering cathedral made for a hypnotic experience. But that calm was a lie, a stillness before the storm. At the end of the level I met Ornstein and Smaug, the infamous duo. One sat on me with his magnificent butt while the other skewered me with a spear. Even after thousands of hours across Soulsborne games and Souls-likes, this fight remains one of the hardest, most unfair and most annoying in the game. Shut the f*** up. I hit a wall. Once more, I was ready to quit. My wife's cousin, a professional sports coach, heard me vent about my struggle to stay motivated. He pointed me to a Zoom group run by his sports students. It was a self-managed group, meeting online twice a week. Each session, one member prepared a workout and led the group through it. Essentially a workout book club. It meant new people, new routines, and digging deeper into fitness to prep my own sessions. I learned the perks of jolly cooperation. I gave up. I wasn't good enough alone. I summoned 2 shiny signs and with my new buddies, we obliterated Ornstein and Smaug. It felt wrong, like I cheated the game, cheated myself. Then I stumbled across a story from Hidetaka Miyazaki in a Eurogamer interview.
The origin of that idea is actually due to a personal experience where a car suddenly stopped on a hillside after some heavy snow and started to slip. The car following me also got stuck, and then the one behind it spontaneously bumped into it and started pushing it up the hill. That's it. That's how everyone can get home. Then it was my turn and everyone started pushing my car up the hill, and I managed to get home safely.
I got it. Cooperation, people helping each other when they are stuck, was the point. I didn't cheat. I used the tools the game gave me. I learned to accept help to move forward. To be perfectly honest, the game went downhill a bit from there. The exploratory vibe and vague lore gave way to a checklist. Gather the 4 Lord Souls. The catacombs were a self-inflicted pain in the ass. I didn't know there were light sources in the game and slogged through in complete blindness, swearing at the developer's cruelty. I felt like an idiot once again when I realized how many light sources the game offered. Too late. I'd already beaten the area in total darkness. Still, I didn't think about quitting. That wasn't me anymore. Gravelord Nito was mechanically simple, but that creature made of countless human skeletons will haunt me forever. That hellish trek through the catacombs, kept by the Lord of Death himself, was one of the game's strongest moments. Demon Ruins and Lost Izalith? One thing to say. Imagine reading the best book ever. A masterpiece you'd preach about forever, despite a quarter of its pages being smeared in shit. That's how good Dark Souls is. It's the most influential game of all time, despite a quarter of the game being hot, shaking diarrhea. Hot take. Bed of Chaos gets far more hate than it deserves. It's a shit boss, sure, but which FromSoft gimmick boss isn't? New Londo Ruins were more annoying than scary, with a bland boss fight at the end. I still don't get how many kings make up the 4 kings, and I don't even care. Post-lockdown, I was thrilled to join my Jolly Cooperators sports club in person.
We finally meet.
I started a sport. Well, let's say tennis, but it wasn't tennis in real life. I showed up to practice 3 or 4 times a week, took private lessons and practiced alone and with friends. I was a new person, physically stronger, but more importantly, mentally resilient. Every boss, every level had a weakness, tackable with the right mindset and strategy. Every training session was a step towards my goal. And I had a goal. I signed up for a beginner-level tennis championship, my first ever sports competition. I got lost in the Duke's archives, a lot. My screwed-up sense of direction stretched that area longer than necessary. But I prevailed, beating the last of the 4 lords. Only 1 step left. I sat in the changing room, barely believing I was really here, in an actual tournament. I could have changed into street clothes and bailed, like I did as a kid during a soccer match. Back then, I felt so useless I left at halftime without a word to anyone. Not this time. I was stronger. I entered Quinn's arena. The music, the scene, it was pure cinema. I unleashed everything I'd learned. Dodging, parrying, attacking. It was a dance. The first attempt ended with me burned alive by the Lord of Cinder, but in our first rematch, I made him bow. I persevered, endured, and linked the fire. I didn't win. This isn't that kind of a success story. I came in 3rd, but it was a victory. Over my fears, my doubts, my weak body. I never imagined myself in any kind of physical activity, and now I had a medal around my neck. So, did Dark Souls heal me? Not physically, no, but it gave me the tools to heal myself. It taught me failure isn't always failure. It's a chance to improve, get stronger. Without that shady Subway deal, buying the game a second time, I wouldn't be here, feeling healthier, more confident than ever, hitting the gym and YouTube. I don't even think about where I could have been without it, back in the hospital or worse. So yeah, in a sense, it did heal me, and for that, I'll be forever grateful. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give the like and subscribe button a stroke, and share your stories in the comments. I will see you in the next one.